welcome back to another episode of Tarot Talk with me, your host, tawanantoinette. Today we're going to do your May reading. It can resonate for Libra, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs, but I always recommend checking your rising sign first. And before we begin, just a few announcements. The first one is this is a collective reading. So for those of you who are new to tarot, bear in mind that this is not a personal reading. It may not relate to your personal story 100% of the time, and also all parts of the reading may not resonate with you. So please consider this as you listen to the tarot reading. And secondly, I'd like to say a big thank you to everybody who has booked a personal session with me. I really appreciate it. And last but not least, if you are watching on YouTube, remember to like the video, subscribe, hit that like button, hit that notification bell so you know when I post new content to the channel. Thank you for all of your likes, shares, subscriptions, all that good stuff. And if you are listening to the podcast, because this is available via podcast as well, thank you so much for tuning in, and remember to drop a rating so that we can grow our community. Also, feel free to share with a friend who you think may be open to tarot or this may be helpful to. So let's get started. Libras. This is in the past energy, so I feel like this is something that you've already been through. We start with chaos and conflict, and the card clarifying this was stay strong. So you had to stay strong through some kind of chaos that ensued in your life in the past. We begin the reading with the Fool card, and it's clarified by the Death and the Five of Cups. So it feels like as soon as something started, something ended, or you had a major beginning that came to a major end. It was, of course, disappointing. And probably you dealt with a lot of mental conflict or mental battles with whatever you were going through. This could be related to a working environment, or this could be related to a person, a relationship in your life, but there was some kind of chaotic conflict that you were having to stay strong while undergoing in the past energy. Now, beneath the Fool and the Death card, it feels like with every ending comes a beginning. With every beginning comes an end. It's like a major beginning and a major ending. That's how it feels. Beneath the Fool card, we have the Three of Pentacles clarified by the Hanged Man. So you stop collaborating in this environment or with this person. The energies just became stuck between you guys. You decided to stop putting energy towards them. Probably they decided to stop putting energy towards you. If this is a working kind of thing for you, you may have decided to stop doing a job, or a job may have decided to let you go. But either way, it was a chance to kind of see your contribution and like evaluate your contribution to this environment, this connection, this job, whatever it was for you, this group, this friendship circle, whatever this collaboration with another person or another group of people was, you stopped doing it. It came to a pause. It came to a stop. And in that stop, you were probably able to look at your contribution and this environment from a completely different perspective. It feels like maybe you were able to see things from a higher perspective, and that started plans for your future. Maybe plans that you were keeping secret to yourself. You were also planning your future by yourself. Maybe you kept your plans to yourself, away from this group, this person, whoever you were having this conflict with. But I see you making plans for the future that didn't involve anybody else but you. This could have been a move. It could have been just general thinking, okay, what am I going to do given that I'm not in anything with this person anymore. I'm not in this environment anymore. But you made plans and you kind of kept them to yourself, kept them hush hush. Now, when readings start like this, I always intuitively know that they're showing me what happened in the past, because something of the past is affecting something in the future. So I fully expect whoever you are having this conflict with to come up in the next 2 rows. So in the middle row, we have message in a bottle. Here enters the person you are having the conflict with. And this card always talks about receiving fast communication via text, phone call, email, someone reaching out to you, or you possibly reaching out to someone. You have to choose how this applies to you. Now, you're being invited when this message comes to you, when you receive this message, for those of you who are on the receiving end, to challenge your perception and to not act too quickly. Focus and then act always talks about thinking before you make a decision. Thinking something through carefully before you commit an action that you cannot take back. So if you receive a message from someone in the month of May, if someone has something to talk to you about, or if it's this person who you're having the conflict with that has something to talk to you about, I feel like before you make any kind of decision, think through it carefully. Beneath that, we have the Emperor, and it's clarified by the Ace of Wands. We have the 6 of Swords, clarified by the 2 of Pentacles. And then we have the King of Cups, clarified by the 3 of Wands and the 7 of Cups. So there are 2 people here having some kind of exchange or conversation. One person reignites the situation. So maybe you guys have not been speaking to this person. They've been out of your immediate environment, or you've been out of their immediate environment. But there's a conversation that's coming up between you both in the month of May. I feel like it's a conversation about moving to a calmer space. Maybe where you guys left things was very chaotic. Maybe you guys left things in a state of conflict. I feel like this conversation is about moving on. How do we move on from this unhealthy place that we were in the past? Is it possible for us to go to a calmer space? This doesn't necessarily mean that you are, let's just say if this was intimate, you are getting back with this person intimately, but I more so feel that this is a conversation of how can this be smoother? Maybe you guys have to deal with each other for some reason. Or maybe you guys don't have to deal with each other, but this person or you would just like there to not be this beef or this conflict or this tension between you guys, because it's unnecessary. So it feels like, how do we move on to a calmer space? How do we get past all of the things that have happened in the past? Are you open to that? I feel like this is a conversation where you challenge your perception. So if your perception is, I was so done with this person, I can't deal with this person ever again, maybe challenge your perspective in how you're viewing this person. Maybe they reacted the way they knew how in that moment, and also maybe you had some part to play in whatever conflict that was going on. But whatever you find yourself, whatever story you've been telling yourself about this person, I feel like Spirit is saying, Libra, this is an invitation to challenge the story that you have been telling yourself about this person. Maybe it is possible to get to a calmer space. Now, I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're the Emperor here, which is coming up as more like a boss figure. This could be a father figure or somebody who is in charge of a business, multiple businesses. This Emperor is usually an authoritative stance or an authoritative persona. This person is reigniting this conversation. So I get the sense that it's this person who's reaching out. And you may be the King of Cups, and you don't always show up as the King of Cups. So this is quite interesting. Maybe this is not you, but I do feel like it is. This King of Cups is coming up as emotionally mature. So maybe you have to be emotionally mature in this situation, or you are forced to be that way when dealing with this person, because this is not usually your energy. You're usually the King of Swords or the Queen of Swords, not the King of Cups or the Queen of Cups. This is you in your emotional energy. This is you in your emotional, intelligent energy. And maybe you having things that you feel and emotions that you're experiencing that you are keeping controlled because you don't want to explode. You don't want to explode on this person. You don't want to say something you don't mean. You don't want to have an emotional outburst that you can't control. So that's why you're maybe showing up as the King of Cups. Now, the King of Cups is clarified by the Three of Wands and the Seven of Cups, which talks about, I see, it's almost like you don't want to embrace wishful thinking when it comes on to a person. You're like, it's almost like you're waiting for this person to come to you. Maybe you knew that they would eventually come back to have this conversation. I feel like you may have let me get my thoughts together. I feel like you may be prone to wishful thinking in this particular circumstance, and you're being asked to be a little bit more objective. Don't think wishfully. Think about the facts and what exists and what is happening. So now that I see the Seven of Cups here, I understand why Spirit is saying challenge your perception. Because maybe you do have to come out of this like confusion and this wishful state of mind when dealing with this person. Maybe this is it can't ever be how it was, but maybe it can be smoother, like don't try to make this person out to be what he or she is not. I mean, two things can exist. You guys can get to a smoother place, but that doesn't mean that you have to not look at them objectively and not look at the situation objectively as well. Whatever that means for you. I'm going to leave it there. Now going on to the last row, we have clean it up, which, yeah, you're cleaning something up. You're going to a calmer place with someone. This feels like we're clearing the air. That's how this feels. Like we don't necessarily have to be back together. We don't necessarily have to be friends again, but at least we can clear the air. Because at this point, I know who you are. Or this is a person saying this to you. I know who you are. And maybe things can't ever go back to how they were, but it can get to a smoother space between us. Now you're cleaning something up, and in order to clean something up, you need to embrace the dark parts of what's happening or what has happened. That means airing out the things that are embarrassing, the things that you don't want to say, the things that you've kept on your chest, the things that you've not embraced because maybe you didn't want to start a conflict, the things that this person didn't say because maybe they didn't want to upset you or you didn't want to upset them, or whatever that's hidden between you guys. I see you clearing it out by being honest with this person. The only way to clean this situation up is to get out what you have to say and for them to get out what they have to say. And maybe some of the things that you have to say isn't so nice or isn't so lovely or isn't, but hey, you have to get it out. That's how this situation is going to be cleaned up. You have to be honest with yourself and with each other. Clarifying that, we have the Death card. And the Death card is clarified by the Eight of Wands and the Four of Wands. We also have the Three of Cups, the Knight of Pentacles. And the King of Pentacles clarified by the Justice and the Judgment. Someone is making some kind of decision. The future energy, because that's what this column represents for me as a reader. Someone is making a judgment call on what is fair. You're having some kind of conversation through this message that was initiated. Now the air is open. Now you guys can talk. You're talking about an ending. And this is the Eight of Wands signifying fast communication. You're talking about an ending. Possibly you have ended a relationship or a marriage or something. But there's a union that came to an end and you're talking, or is coming to an end and you're talking about it. And maybe there are conversations to reconcile this. Maybe there are conversations to work slowly, Knight of Pentacles, to reconcile this. But the only way this can happen is by being honest. Two people need to be honest with each other about their feelings and what is possible. I see the conversation happening, but it ultimately is going to come down to one person deciding. And maybe this is you, Libras. You have the ultimate decision on where you take this. Is this done for good, or is this possible? Is it possible to reconcile given the differences that you have with this person or the conflicts that have existed in the past? Is it possible to reconcile, or is judgment not going to go in the favor of whatever this ending was? And the ending will still stand. So let's get some advice. Spirit, what's the advice for Libras in May? What's the advice for Libras in the month of May? What's the advice for Libras in May? Libra, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. What do you advise my Libras in this situation in May 2022? The advice card is Unbound. Releasing soul patterns, contracts, and past lives. Interesting. So maybe you had some kind of contracts with this person. Okay, let's read this card. Unbound. Unbound. It is time to release old soul stories that have been playing out in your life. They are coming up to be healed. There has never been a safer time to clear these patterns than right now. Take a look at patterns in your life that you are ready to release. Ancient vows and contracts that your soul made that have an expiry date. It could be a vow of silence or chastity or poverty. It is time to unwind from them. This is a life in which you free yourself from trauma of lives past. What old ways of being have an expiry date? When you name them, you claim them, and they stop holding power over you. When acknowledging these old patterns, it is also important to acknowledge how they have served you up until now. For example, a soul pattern of playing small, caused by a soul fear of being seen or sharing your voice, would have served you by keeping you safe. In order to grow, you now need to soften by receiving and calling in support. It is time to unbind from the old ways of being that are no longer sustainable. Libras, if you're working on releasing a relationship, releasing a pattern in a relationship, or just trying to release a contract in the month of May, this is an incantation that you can say to yourself, of course, in the privacy of your own home or space or altar. I release all soul stories, vows, contracts, and patterns that are no longer aligned with who I came here to be in the present time. I carry the lessons, growth, and gifts, but I no longer choose to live the same story. May I be unbound, unbound, forever unbound. Alright guys, so I will leave you here. I hope this reading was helpful. Remember, if you'd like to go deeper, my booking link is in the description. Oh, and I created a new tarot page. So if you're not able to listen to readings via YouTube or the podcast, check out at Tarot by Tawana on Instagram. Those are really small, short snippets of what is to come in the month ahead for you, and also cool astrology and general tarot information. So see you over on that Instagram page for additional tarot content as well. So bye Libras, I'll leave you here.